Wordai, Orelamape, Mandarinya. Thank you, Living Histories, for inviting me here today. I was rather hesitant and nervous about this, but here I am. Before I start the slide journey, I'd just like to congratulate Araluen and everyone involved in putting on that wonderful celebratory event yesterday. So I want to reiterate what Annie has said. Was a very joyful day that reminds us of how fortunate we all are to have connections to Mara and Wantua. So there's 3 brilliantly curated and powerfully engaging exhibitions. Central Craft, 50 years. Groundswell, 40 years. And Force Field, 7 weeks. I mean, really, Kim. It is said that time does speed up as we get older. So I think I might need a spaceship to catch the opening night for the next show in that trajectory. I'm going to begin. Going right, Das. Right. Okay. So this is me when I first arrived in town in the early 80s with my partner, Russell. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking he might look more like this. But there is a common thread here. So whether it's the horsehair or the synthetic, Mr. Coldflam does seem to like a little bit of help with his hair. Anyway, getting back to me. So I was fresh out of art school and looking for somewhere to set up my ceramic studio. The thing is, at that time, in the very early 80s, one couldn't find even a shoebox in this town to rent. So we stayed with our 2 cats for the first 6 months in a flat, where are we, above the publishing office at IAD. And thus it was that I was introduced to the remarkable cohort of inspirational people who flowed through that South Terrace hub on a daily basis. Yami Lester, who was Russell's boss, and he really liked this mural because it was very 3D, tactile. And I'd take him there and you could feel what was happening. And there were so many more trailblazers of the 80s, a number of whom, many of whom I can see here today. But it was the inimitable, the indomitable Myra Chi who took us, Russell and I, under her wing, revealing a cherished childhood on country and her unshakable commitment to language. Early Aranda classes with M.K. Turner and Jenny Green, over there, stand out in my mind. So we ended up buying a house in Giles Street, just so I can set up my studio, and my own personal baptism by fire was happening in a very literal sense as I fired up my brand new kiln. So I'm making big slip decorated plates featuring a lot of colourful animal characters with few humans in there. And I'm making, well, hang on, I'm going back. So, ceramics is a beguiling but testing medium. It teaches tenacity and the realisation that you can't always control the outcomes. And all you ceramists out there, anyone who's dabbled in clay will know this. So that old galah lady, she might seem oblivious to the crack that's up there in the middle. This hangs in my laundry because it had a big crack in it. Believe me, I wasn't oblivious to the crack. Nevertheless, my work is welcomed by this wonderfully supportive community of lefty ratbags and adventurers. And before too long, I'm diverging into architectural ceramics, fulfilling small commissions to bathrooms and kitchens and fireplaces. And this bathroom mural, which is probably my very, very first commission, was requested by Pip McManus in Darwin. Around about this time, the Uluru Karajuda Cultural Centre is being conceived. Traditional owners drawing concepts in the sand and architects taking note. A long, deeply considered process. This is the proper approach. Sonia Peter, one of the designers, approaches me to coordinate a series of ceramic artworks which are to be incorporated into the very form of the serpentine mud building, the mud brick building. Is that popping too much? Pop? Down or up? Down, okay. You still here? Yeah. It's a lesson in how to best conceive public art as an integral element rather than a tacked on afterthought. My main informant and guiding artist at Mutijulu is the ever charming Rini Kulucha, Queen Rini. The intensity of living in Alice in this crossroads of culture and history. Okay, I didn't want to pop. Pip doesn't like popping, but anyway. The intensity of living in Alice in this crossroads of culture and history means we seek from time to time substantial breaks from the heat and the overall magnitude of the place. So, where shall we rest our wandering swag? Bang smack in the middle of the Suez Canal, of course, where else? So in 1985, Ruffy and I took a year off, and that's where we lived. True story. A year in Egypt rekindles my lifelong interest in the Middle East. Another flashpoint of historical significance, which, anyway, I'll get back to that in a minute, a series of ceramic tablets which I created in the early 2000s, ponders the perpetual clamour of the region and the never-ending reverberations, which we are tragically seeing before our eyes today. Another series of ceramic tablets named Valentine narrates the journey of a young Romanian refugee boy who we knew in a hotel which we used to visit in Cairo. His name was Valentine, and he and his family were searching for a homeland. His family applied to come here to Australia, to a safe haven, far away from a maniacal dictator. Our government left them waiting for years and years in a hotel room until Canada stepped up and took them. The final tablet, that's an interim tablet, the final tablet in the riverbed refers to campers here in Mbantua who often find themselves refugees in their own land. In tandem with these forays beyond my somewhat lonely studio life, another groundbreaking art adventure emerges in town in the form of Watch This Space, and that sparkly persona, Pamela Lofts. There is no question that Pam's vision and boldness in establishing experimental art space where contemporary art could let loose was a watershed moment for artists in this town, both for my own arts practice and for the future trajectory of arts in Alice Springs. An artist camp in a Tanami gold mine with Pam, Kim Mahood, and many others. I can see Nick Hempel with the hat, he was a cellist, musician, Drew Moynihan, Rachel Bowick. Anyway, it was a great experience, and it forges really exciting collaborations. In this instance, for me, with the musician Nick Hempel, fellow with the white hat, who composes an improvised cello piece in the middle of a disused tailings dam. But I'm still working with clay. That's Nick and his, this is on a tailings dam in the Tanami. I'm still working with clay in various forms. Some of these works you can actually see in the Marriott Gallery at the moment as part of the Craft 50-year show. I'm still working with clay in various forms, but my work has drifted into installation pieces, employing mixed media, and the new realm for me of video. I often find myself more intrigued by the universal human condition than the particularities of place. And this work I call is actually showing at the moment in the Groundswell show that opened yesterday. I have dived into a visual representation which records the process of organic processes, of organic systems as they unfold. So I call this work is Reconnaissance and Night Vessel are projected on very large scale, ideally. Depends on the gallery situation. And they have travelled to far-flung places. The reconnaissance work, which first showed in Manila, was a year-long research exploration of my father's wartime involvement, flying Catalinas out of Darwin in the late stages of World War II. The Night Vessel video was shown in Taiwan as part of the Taipei Ceramics Biennale in 2014. But on the home front, I became thoroughly perplexed by the lack of visible art on the streets of our town, where we are immersed in the extraordinary flourishing of the desert art movement. So about 20 years ago, I decided to make a bit of noise about it and managed to reach the ears of a few key pollies. Pam Lofts and I were commissioned to do a work at the airport. The location's not fabulous because the budgies mainly keep company with the smokers who rush out here as soon as they exit the terminal. Can't choose the place, site. But today public art is finally being recognised in this town as a vibrant contribution to the built environment. Those are gates that I did out at the cemetery. It doesn't have to be big bronze statues on plinths. The Town Council now has a 10-year public art master plan, which is fantastic, although the advisory committee seems to have fallen by the wayside for the moment. Recently, I had the pleasure of seeing my work settle in a bush environment via works with Parks NT and the women at Waraka, Kings Canyon, who are committed to educating visitors about the deeply held knowledge of country and its precious resources. Kissing budgies. One of my memorable experiences is when I visited this down at Kings Canyon. It's in the valley. When you walk along to the viewing platform, and there were a couple of kids in front of me who raced up the stairs. They saw the budgies and they raced up to them and kissed them. Yes. So where I'm at to. This work is by Mervyn Rabunja, and it is definitely in the right place. I think you'll all recognise it. It's where you can be admired as you sit with your coffee and croissant at the bakery. And also a call out here to Mel, who has facilitated artists to be paid to make public art through a private business. So the murals that you see inside the bakery and on the wall outside, it's a partnership. And we want to see more of that in private enterprise. And this is a very dramatic mural on the wall of the cinema, which we also know. This is the cinema where Samson and Delilah was first previewed. And it's one of my favourite public art pieces because it looks you in the face and challenges your assumptions. And that's the way that most interesting art can do. And that's where I'll finish. Thank you.